think we are live.
Yes.
Yes, you are listening to Transparency and Merit. How are you tonight, Brian?
Well, Joe, I'm okay. I'll tell you this. I've been on this issue for about Oprah Winfrey for a while, and I've been aware of her style for a while. It is the way she covers social issues, particularly race. She does it in a very over the years, she's really kind of, in my opinion, really kind of gaslit America, and I would probably say the whole Anglosphere. She's really kind of put forth an image. She comes across as very diplomatic. But that, to a degree, in my opinion, about her is rather deceiving, because, when she came about, it was Donahue that was kind of the king, the king of talk, or the head placement of talk. And then Oprah came about, and Oprah, to a degree, became more popular than Phil Donahue because she came across as more willing to listen to her guests. And, sometimes people would, she'd have family trauma on, and, someone who came from trauma, she was a bit of an empath.
Who?
Oprah. Now, you may agree or disagree, but because of her,
you mean that's how she portrayed herself on the show, as an empath?
Well, someone who was empathetic to other people's and the pain, and pain. But I want to go, I guess, to a thing that I really began to observe with Oprah. As I say, she was empathetic to her guests. The types of guests that Oprah would have on.
Why don't you read this comment?
Evils says, race exists as a biological concept, but based on genetic and phenotypical expressions, and distance matters more than actual subtle differences and changes within the environment. And that is something that look, I mean, and because I don't, my knowledge of biology is really, really lacking.
I think it's a great comment, because.
But I'm more talking about the social, the social impact of Oprah Winfrey.
Are you typing a response?
No, I'm not typing a response at all. I was just
typing. What the heck are you typing for?
I'm sorry. I was. You know what?
You're like a Columbus typer too.
Yeah, I'm like a Columbus typer. Thank you. So critical race theory came out in the many people believe in the early 80s, and it's hard to say when it came out, but I believe that Oprah is responsible for bringing guests on that had, if not direct views of critical race theory, bringing on people who shared many of the views of critical, like who had rather similar views of critical race theory. Now, President Trump, I believe, just signed an executive order, a full executive order, abolishing critical race theory from the federal government. So a lot of the military and federal contractors have been are not teaching that anymore. But Oprah, in my opinion, was able to get these types of theories like metastasized in our government, which has taken a big blow. President Trump just put a big blow through that. And then, but it has been metastasized through many of the HR departments in big business. And I think these HR departments were kind of forced to do this. Critical race theory is another psychological operation to further sow discord between the already fractured family unit and the balkanization of such subset groups to increase violence. Now, I don't know if there is any evil plan with this, but that seems to be what critical race theory is doing. It is basically sowing discord between fractured groups. And it's basically showing discord towards whites, because a lot of what I've read about critical race theory seems to be a slander against whites. And you cannot necessarily speak out against it. And the gaslighting that Oprah did was that Oprah came across as someone like Barack Obama who would listen to people who were against critical race theory. Now, she would never have on any experts that, like, that like a Dinesh D'Souza or anyone of the like, who was our Thomas Sowell type, who was critical of this type of thing. It would always be some country bumpkin or just some working mother who had interracial problems. I remember one show in particular, and I can't find it anywhere, where she had one woman on, a white woman. I think her husband had been in the military, and the difficulty she had with blacks' racial hostility towards her. And they had a PhD, a black PhD, who was one of the most obnoxious human beings you ever want to come across. And guys, if you ever find that show, please text it or email it to me, or email it to Transparency and Merit, or even tweet it out to me, or put it, like if you leave a comment and you can find that show, that would be great. I'm going to find that show. It's just been kind of, I've been doing kind of a half-ass job on that. But that show really showed basically Oprah's mindset. And she's using other people to kind of do her dirty work. And the psychological operation. But I want to mention that the gaslighting.
Did you already read these comments, or should I read them?
Well, you said I agree, but the victimhood mentality should be avoided as any group is stronger together than fractured. You know, victimhood, and I'll get into the whole thing on victimhood at a later time, how that probably is destructive. But at this point, there seems to be an ego in the victimhood, and it's a false sense of ego, because you really don't have to blame anybody else. You can always blame outside circumstances. And you know what? I'm a person that falls for that too. But that's not what people who are successful do. And as I've said before, now Trump has basically put the kibosh within the federal government. Big business, on the other hand, that is where it's metastasized. Big, like they'll say it's a private, like particularly within these social media companies, they are really deep in the doo-doo of things such as critical race theory. And they're not going to get, and the people who run those programs are not going to give those up without a severe fight. But you're seeing, really what you're seeing from this type of critical race theory is a much more emotional society, because America, to a large extent, is a stoic nation, and we're seeing far less of that. And they're using, basically, these individuals are using a lot of intimidation, both economic and physical at times, intimidation to get their way. I mean, if I went out and I did something that was against critical race theory, I went out on Hollywood Boulevard and did a thing like, and applauded Trump's, or even wanted to have a discussion about Trump.
Hold on, we got a caller. All right, caller, who is this?
Who would you like it to be?
Yes. Well, it is.
Buddy.
Do you have? Let me ask you this, Howard. Do you have anything to add to the conversation?
And Bathtub Girl, would you like to add anything also?
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. I nailed it right on the head. Go on. Let's go. Say something.
Stop it wasn't to you.
Say it now. Go.
What would you like to hear?
What do you got? What do you think about this topic about critical race theory and Oprah?
I think it's bullshit.
I do agree with him sometimes. Believe it or not.
The only race
once in a while
that is systematically attacked in America is our white people.
Okay, and well, that seems to be the case today, and critical race theory has the whole thing of censoring the attacks upon white people. At least it seems that way, because the people who are involved in critical race theory, the mainstream media doesn't cover it, and and social media will censor it.
Hmm.
So
Social media needs to be destroyed.
perhaps, perhaps an alternative to some of these social media sites can come about, because the critical race theory cultists are running things. I would call them the anti-racist cultists. Are running a lot in this country, and perhaps there needs to be some kind of alternative to the social media that's out there.
Perhaps you need to boycott every product that the mainstream media advertises.
I don't know if that's necessarily possible, Howard.
I
Why not?
miss that. He's mumbling.
He said you have, okay, he says that you have to boycott every product that the mainstream media
Okay. All right. Got it.
advertises. And I don't know, I mean, maybe we have to go certain forms of that route. I mean, there are certain things like stop watching. Yes, go ahead.
No, speaking with the wallet, I'm down with that all day long. So finally, we get some sort of path forward for dealing with a system that that you don't necessarily agree with anymore. You've lost faith in, but there are paths forward. That's one of them, I think.
Well, let's just be honest here. These people who have these beliefs are often violent and myopic, and do not respect other people's points of view. And to me, why do I want to be in a place where I'm lectured at and I cannot question what is being taught or what is being told?
Did I ask you that very question weeks ago?
I don't remember.
I did. I told you to go where you're treated best. Are you treated well in the United States?
At this point, no.
So then go where you're treated best.
What country is that?
Or better.
Well, at this point, Howard, the travel is extremely hard, and I don't know where. For me, and I'm only speaking for myself. I don't know what country I want to go to, but like I said, this does not seem to be a thoughtful country. It seems to be a very emotional and a very, very contentious, nasty nation that you might be right. You might be right. Can I have dual citizenship in Panama?
Panama.
Panama. You know what? You might be right. You might be right.
Good food, happy people.
Evils says the path of Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior.
Sounds good.
Maybe Panama is.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing this more and more recently, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying. I'm curious. Have you heard more people discussing religion than in recent years, maybe decades? No?
You're asking me?
I'm asking anybody. Brian, we got two people here. Answer it.
Well, it's a 5-hour flight, and me and Joe might just go. Joe, would you go? Would you go with me on vacation to Panama?
That's his attention span. You hear that?
I'm sorry.
Holy crap. This is our world. Our attention spans are shot.
Not mine.
How much TV do you watch? I know you watch some.
Zero.
Bullshit. You watch
Zero.
news. How much news?
Zero.
How much news do you watch? And please keep in mind, television already migrated to the internet years ago. So it's one of
I
the
watch
YouTube.
I watch news with my morning cup of coffee.
Why?
I get my information through podcasts.
Why? Why would you watch the news ever? What would happen to you if you turned it off? Are you afraid you'd become boring? More boring than you already are?
That's a loaded question that doesn't even deserve an answer. Why don't you go talk to Joe Biden?
What would happen if you never watched it again? No more news.
Well, I mean, like I said, here's the deal. Not all news is lies. Not all of it is truth.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm going to say it's 100% nonsense, all a play for your brain. They have no responsibility. They have no desire to enrich your brain. And so they take advantage of that by you believing that they will and they could and they will. But they can't and they won't. Sports are rigged.
So you're saying
the weather's
you're
fake.
saying that no news is news.
Well, that's what I would say. Stay away from the
All
news.
fake, huh?
There's plenty of news.
It's all fake.
There's plenty
100%
of news that
fake,
will
right?
unfurl in your life. There's plenty of things in your life that will unfurl, but please.
But it's 100% fake, right?
100%. Some people might argue some of the local stories are legit, but
yeah. There are no absolutes.
Get out of here. That's like saying nothing on. Well, okay. I'll go with that. I'll accept that. There's no absolutes. So okay, it's a very small percentage, in my view, of the news that is real.
So when I listen to Steve Bannon's War Room Pandemic, where I get all my pandemic information from, is that all fake?
Just takes a minute. All you got to do is question it. It all falls apart.
Again, there's no absolutes, and you just said that as if it's an absolute. You use the word all.
I'm just saying it fell apart.
No, you didn't say it.
Part of it.
Apart.
Okay,
you said
part
it
of it.
All falls apart.
Part of it. Okay, part of it fell apart. You're
so
right.
Again, we're back
and I'm
to
always
no
checking my language, but I'm never opposed to learning from it. I mean, I understand. I'm just used to speaking one way, and it's a hindrance. It truly is. I've been programmed to speak one way.
The way that you speak influences the way that you think.
No doubt. But the way I speak is often different from the way I think. Not everything I'm thinking gets translated properly, is what I'm saying by my language.
Now, why would that? Is there something wrong with you?
No, there's sometimes there's better ways to encapsulate the way that I'm thinking, and sometimes I might not have the time to express it properly. I might kind of get halfway through a thought, or I don't know. There's nothing's absolute, so I think this applies.
So maybe what's happening with you is that smog is affecting your
I'm not
thoughts.
saying it happens every time I open my mouth. I'm just saying there are times. There are no absolutes.
Careful. I'm very careful of what comes out of my mouth.
I'm far more careful now than I used to be.
It should be.
Now, Howard, have you heard of Trump's? Hold on, let me because let's get back to the topic. Have you heard of Trump's executive order on critical race theory?
No.
Yeah. Well, Trump, the State Department and the EPA and the VA are moving forward with. Let's see here. Okay. Let me look here. So the president signed a full executive order abolishing critical race theory from the federal government, the military, and all federal contractors.
Yes, I was aware of that.
What's your opinion on that?
I think it's a good thing. By the way, if Trump says that he signed an executive order, is that fake news?
There are no absolutes. I'm saying I'm going to say that. I'm going to keep repeating that because it's a great phrase.
Okay, let's go.
That's an absolute.
Yeah,
I disagree with that.
the legal system is a mess. So I'm not sure. I don't know much about that.
I'm going to say question everything.
Hey, there you go. I like that.
You know?
Okay. How would
Even
I
question
something
President Trump's
Okay.
critical race theory.
I don't know what that means, critical race theory. Those three words
I don't know either.
together.
I was trying to think about that.
Well,
what does it mean? Like, what do you?
Yeah, what does it?
Yeah,
Tell me what it means.
I think it's
'Cause
unclear.
Those three words don't. Yeah.
well, there is not a lot of. I'm not going to get into the whole clarity on that. I mean, it started in the early '80s.
It did.
Yeah, I mean the theoretical framework in the social sciences, the examine society and culture as they relate to the categorization of race and law and power.
Are you reading that?
I am, because I mean I have an idea, but I don't remember things right off the top of my head, Howard. So I am
So,
reading.
So what you just said, do you even know what that means?
Word by word?
Yeah, word by word.
Word by word. Do I even know what it means? Like, you know what? I probably couldn't dissect each word, but I have basically my opinion, my layman's term opinion is basically they believe that racism equals prejudice plus power. Therefore, only whites can be racist. That's what I get in the nutshell of critical race theory. I mean, it's a lot of words jumbled together, but at the end of the day, it's meant to basically for whites to atone for all of the crimes that they've committed against people of color.
Yeah, I have.
Hold on, can I finish?
Let him finish.
Of people of color, and that they've obtained power. That they've obtained power through unscrupulous means by stepping on those without power.
I have only one word to respond to that, and that is no.
Go ahead. Now, you give me your expert analysis, and I'll see if I disagree with it.
But did white people step on black people in the 1980s, or have black people remained at the bottom where they're going to get stepped on because they put themselves out there to be stepped on? Is it the fault? Sorry, may I finish?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Is it the fault of white people that they have succeeded over all these decades where black people have failed, all over Africa? They haven't been able to put a government together in Africa. Africa is a mess. So is that the fault of white people, Was that the fault of black people not keeping up?
What would be what if someone said, yes, it is. It is the fault of European colonialization and years of European and white racism and white supremacy across the globe. What would be your response to that?
Was the last president black?
Yes, he was the puppet of white supremacy. Go ahead.
Then they should all shut the fuck up.
You know what someone would tell you? Barack Obama doesn't make, well, here are a couple of things that they would say. Barack Obama does not erase years of white supremacy, and that he was the puppet of this white supremacy system.
I don't care. I don't care what they say. They can say anything they want. Because I don't know who they are, and I don't care.
Well, I can give you a few names. Tariq Nasheed.
Oh,
yeah. I can give you a few names. Tariq Nasheed.
Why does anybody care about what somebody by the name of Tariq Nasheed says?
Yeah.
Nasheed.
I don't care. I don't care. Do you care?
Yes, he cares. Of course he cares.
Neely Fuller.
I don't know who that is.
Well, he was one of the people, when he was in the military, wrote a whole thing on the system of white supremacy, and he wrote there
is no longer a system of white supremacy.
I agree with that.
Apparently, black people are too stupid to figure that out.
Well,
I don't have any black people here, so I don't have to deal with the bullshit that you've got to put up with there.
Mm-hmm.
I like it that way.
Yes.
I like New York scenes from the 1960s. You know why?
Why?
I don't see any low-class black people in any of those scenes. Go look at any movie. All white people. I kind of like it. I think I'd rather live with white people. I think I would purposely like to live with white people and not with black people. In fact, I can tell you categorically, I would not want to live with black people. Do you live with black people?
No, but here's a little bit of Neely Fuller. Here we go.
No, I don't care about that. Don't read something. I asked you a question. Do you live with black people?
Doing now? They're doing 4 basic things: racial showcasing, racial population tailoring, racial dislocation, and white sacrificing. And these 4 things are designed to produce maximum sophisticated confusion among the victims, and so far has been somewhat successful worldwide. Now I'll start with the first one. What is racial showcasing? That means taking huge numbers of black people and putting them out front. There's going to be more of this all over the planet. Many millions of black people that you will see who will be rolling in money. They'll be able to showcase the places where they live. They'll be able to showcase their knowledge and expertise. So you have television now, you have all of the mediums for doing this, for showcasing huge numbers of black people. I will say it will eventually run into the millions, so many that you won't be able to count them. Now, what is this for? This is for any black person that starts talking about racism in the future is going to be laughed at, because they're going to be able to showcase so many black people who are what you call quote unquote successful, that it will seem that racism has been put out of business. But white supremacy is a world business, and like any other business, it works on profits and losses, which means percentages. You go into business, you expect a certain amount of loss. If you're in the grocery business, well, you might have.
Now, what you just heard, what would be your response to a Neely Fuller? Did you hear that, by the way?
I heard it. I wish I hadn't heard it. Tell me where black people have been successful in the world. Tell me a black country or a black society,
Mhm.
or even in America, where black people as a whole are successful.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. There probably are somewhat or rather successful African nations. I don't have any offhand, but you know what? You know what? You know what? I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to, when this show is over, I am going to do my research, and I'm going to do the top successful black sub-Saharan African nations.
Tell me which country. Tell me which country in Africa you'd like to move to.
You know what? I don't have any at the moment, but I'll tell you this. At the moment, I don't. But I have heard that there are successful, or somewhat successful, up and coming,
really,
sub-Saharan African nations, West African nations, and the like that are successful, that are up and coming. I don't know how successful they are, and I'd like to examine that fact before I make any decision on that, Howard. I'd like to just do some research on my own before I say, because I don't know enough about Africa, I know that most of Africa is very poor, but if I say all of Africa, wait, can I finish? If I were to say that all of, okay, let me finish. If I were to say that all of sub-Saharan Africa was a hellhole or third rate, and that may be true, but I don't want to say something and be proven wrong. And I don't know. I haven't looked at the facts to examine if there is an African nation that I would move to. There might be.
Name me. Why don't you name me a successful?
I just told you I can't name any at the moment, but I will do research on it.
You didn't let me finish the question. Okay. You keep talking, but you don't say anything. Why don't you name me a successful country in Europe that's predominantly white? Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay, which one?
England.
England. Yeah. But can you name another
Germany?
one? Any more?
Poland.
Switzerland,
Norway. Yeah, you're right. I can. Yeah, and I'm certain that people from the African, from sub-Saharan African continents want to go one way and not the other. Although there are a few whites that will go to these African continents to live. On average, it's one way.
So you can name me numerous, if not almost all of the countries in Europe and label them successful, but you can't think of one in Africa that's successful, really?
Neely Fuller would tell you this white man.
Neely would tell me, because I don't know who he is and I don't care.
Neely's argument would be that it is by design. Because people like Howard's ancestors raped Mother Africa and made much of Africa the third world hellhole that it is. Your colonizers.
There's only one country raping Mother Africa at the moment. Do you know the name of that country?
China.
That's right. Well, there you go. Now you can name a non-white country.
That's true.
They just don't happen to be black.
That's true. I mean, that is true.
You can't name a black country that is a success or that you would want to live in?
I can't name one off the top of my head,
You
but
name
I don't want to. Let me tell you. Okay, Howard, I don't want to be. I don't want to just say something off. Like, I mean, it seems that way, but I'm willing to say that I could absolutely be wrong.
He is a little bit afraid.
Seems like you're afraid to tell the truth.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, I'm not afraid to tell. Look, if that is true, I will come back and say, yeah, you know what? Every part of sub-Saharan Africa, West Africa, what have you, is a place where I don't want to live. I'll say that, but I want to do research before I make that decision.
90% of sub-Saharan Africa is a place you would not want to live.
I could probably say that, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say the same thing for Europe?
Probably not.
So this critical race theory, whatever it means, sounds like a cover-up, just to cover up the inadequacies of Black people in general.
That's a possibility.
And Black people, would you consider the majority of Black people to be more educated than the majority of white people in America?
You know what? And I know I'm going back onto this. I know I'm going back on this this stuff, but repeat the question, and I'll repeat the question, Howard, please. Sorry.
Question was, do you consider Black people to be educated in America versus white people? Who's more educated, Black people or white people?
On average, more likely white people, yes.
Okay. And yet, on average, they spend more money in Black schools than they do in white schools.
I would probably agree with that.
Okay. And Black people, for some reason, choose not to be educated. Have you heard the way they speak? They don't speak proper English.
Not all of them.
Yeah. And when you see a news story and it's in a Black neighborhood, do you notice that in the picture, when they take video of the whatever happened in the scene in the surrounding neighborhood, did you know what the common denominator is?
Enlighten me.
No men, no fathers, no men. When you see a murder take place, go watch the next murder in a Black neighborhood, and when they do video, it's all women, all mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers. Some of the great-grandmothers are only 45. No men anywhere to be found. Where are they?
I'm not, I mean, well, there are a lot of places, but let's also say this, Howard. The single motherhood rate has exploded in all demographics, and it's made.
No, it has exploded in the Black community more than any of the other communities.
It's exploded most in the Black community, but it's exploded in just about every other demographic, every other community as well.
It just contradicts what you just told me about how it's all over the place, like it's homogenous. It's not.
It is all over the place. It can be all over the place, but affect just as this pandemic, this COVID, is all over the place. Single parenthood is all over the place, but it affects some people more. I mean, AIDS is all over the place. It affects certain groups more.
It's a non sequitur. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. Black community suffers from no fathers. Yes or no?
Yes, on average, yes.
The white community suffers from no fathers. Yes or no?
To an extent, yes.
To what extent? To the same extent as the black community?
No, but like 40, the gentleman who wrote the Bell Curve, Douglas Murray, wrote a book called Coming Apart, and he talked about, the lack of, the high divorce rates, the
Right.
the lack of fathers in the home.
What do you attribute that all to?
What's that? I attribute that to the degeneracy of the society. It seems like Western society has become degenerate. Go ahead.
Oh, that's not what he attributed it to. He attributed that to the fact that black people have a lower IQ when compared to white people.
What do you attribute it to? But Howard, the illegitimacy rate in white people has also been skyrocketing. I mean, I don't want to go into my family, but just about everyone in my family members had a child outside of wedlock.
Why are you deflecting what I just said?
I'm not deflecting. I don't feel. Okay, you feel that I'm deflecting. I don't feel that I'm deflecting. I'm not even. Listen, I don't defend out of wedlock births.
I smell fear. We're not talking about that.
It's not fear. I do not defend out of what having a child out of wedlock is selfish and wrong. Is selfish and wrong. On average, is selfish and wrong. Okay.
I don't know why you should be very afraid of what I'm saying. Black people on average have a lower IQ than white people. Europeans have a lower IQ than Asians from Korea or Japan.
Okay.
Israelis lower IQ than Asians from Korea and Japan. They have some of the highest IQs in the world. Black people all over the world, including Africa, have some of the lowest IQs.
Okay.
That's a fact. Are you afraid of that?
Am I afraid of the fact that blacks have a lower IQ? Go ahead.
Are you afraid to say it?
You know what? I'm not afraid to say it, but what is the purpose of saying that? Why would I say that?
The purpose of saying it is that it's the truth. Do you think that maybe the illegitimacy, the no fathers, the inability to properly speak the language, do you think maybe that has something to do with a lower IQ? Because if you had a retard, someone with an 80 IQ or a 70 IQ, you wouldn't be surprised that they can't function properly. So maybe their not functioning in society is directly related to their intelligence.
Has this low functioning or does low morality and low IQ are they correlations?
I said low. The fact that they're not as intelligent as some of the rest of the world. Do you think maybe that plays a part in the fact that they have the highest illegitimacy and the lowest literacy on the planet?
I don't know. And do you, so let me ask you this. Do you believe that low IQ and low morality go hand in hand?
You didn't hear me use the word morality. I said I didn't use the word morality at all, so I don't know why you're fixated.
Well, isn't having a child out of wedlock immoral?
That depends on your mores and what country you're from, doesn't it?
Well, in Western culture, we consider, I mean, for the longest time, we considered having a child out of wedlock to be immoral.
And do you consider Africa Western culture? No.
No. But for a long time, Black Americans adopted, European standards of culture, Western standards of culture.
They ought to, because America is not Africa, is it?
That is correct.
So what is the excuse for the Black underclass in America that it's never gotten better? Why is that?
You know what? There may be a number of reasons that, there may be a number of reasons, and that's what we're here. We're here to. Can I finish? We're here to examine all forms of reasoning, but I mean the truth is, blacks in America did face unique persecution, unlike any other group.
Wait, are they persecuted now?
No, but they may be economically.
And why are they such a failure in America?
You don't think that years, of persecution starts them off economically worse than others?
No. They've had plenty of chances, and they've had plenty of opportunities to excel, and yet they don't. Why?
Well, you're starting off things saying that they've had all of these chances, and maybe the chances that they've been given, maybe it was structured wrongly, and it wasn't necessarily they weren't given wealth, as many would say. White Americans.
I'm sorry.
Can I finish? White Americans were given access to the American dream, which was owning land anywhere they wanted to, or for vast majority of places in which they wanted to, and Black Americans were not. Therefore, they were kept in a cycle of poverty. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Tell me where in America Black people can't own land.
Well, right now, very few people can own property. Property is something that is extremely out of reach for like anybody growing up. I doubt that your son. Let me ask you. I doubt your son will be able to afford on his own, unless he becomes a CEO. Will be able to afford property in many of the big cities in America.
I see. So when you drive through Kansas, for example, nobody owns their home there?
Yeah, but I mean, it's certainly more expensive than and where I live in Los Angeles, you have to be a millionaire to own a home in many parts of Los Angeles, many good parts of Los Angeles.
I would say that you're a chump for living in Los Angeles.
That may be true. I may be a chump.
Why would you live there? Again, if you drive through America and pick any town, are you going to tell me that nobody owns their homes?
No, but it's a lot. It's gotten much harder over the years. Look, my parents made a combined income. My parents made a combined income of $30,000 for their first home. That home was $56,000. And that home later on sold for, and that home today would be worth millions of dollars.
And so what's the point of telling me that?
My point is that it has become harder for the average American
showing off
own his own home.
Okay, and so if the average American can still own a home in most of America, how come black people don't?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, Howard. I don't know if the average American can own his own home in most of America, if it's as easy as it was back in the day.
So when you drive through a town and anywhere in America, tell me who owns the homes.
There are people that own homes, but home prices have gone up, much more today than they've ever been. So,
do you ever listen to yourself? You should go back and listen to this particular YouTube podcast, whatever you want to call it, blog. You should go back and listen to yourself how you can't answer a question. Why is that?
I'll have, you know what, Howard? I'll have to go back and listen to the podcast and see why I can't directly answer if what you're saying is true or not. I feel like I'm answering the question to the best. I'm answering the. You're trying to pinhole me like a lawyer. You want a yes or no, and things are a little bit more nuanced than
yes or no question. I asked you if you drive through America, do people own their homes? Yes or no? Do they?
That is true. They do. But a lot of Americans are finding it a lot harder. And before I make just statements about owning homes in Kansas City or other places, I'd have to take a look and examine where people live, where homes are for sale, what jobs are being offered, and how easy or difficult it is to own a home. There are people that own homes, but I think it has become far more difficult today than it has in the past. And if you don't agree with that, you're being dishonest.
Yes. And we have critical race theory now. Is that right? I still don't know what it means.
Because he still hasn't explained what it is.
Well, I feel that I have. And if anyone, like I said, and anyone else who's listening to this vlog show on transparency and merit, if there's anything that I have gotten incorrect or that Howard has gotten incorrect, please let me know.
No, why don't you explain to me what critical race theory is?
I just told you.
Explained it. I don't think you even know what it means.
I just told you what I thought it meant. I just gave you my basic outline.
Okay, boil it down in one sentence for me.
Boil it down to one sentence. Prejudice plus power.
That's not a sentence. That's a fragment.
Well, you want me to boil it down into one sentence.
Yes, it's a common
Racism is prejudice plus power.
That's what critical race theory means?
That is one of the tenets of critical race theory.
I didn't ask you for a tenet. I asked you for an explanation of what it meant. Do you need two sentences? Take two sentences. Tell me what it means.
Institutional racism.
Okay. What is that?
Camilla Phyllis Jones defines institutional racism as the structures, policies, and practices and norms resulting in the different access to the goods and services and opportunities of societies by race. Institutional racism is normative, sometimes legalized, and often manifests as inherited disadvantage. It's structural, having been absorbed into our institution. Listen, listen, I'm against this kind of gobbledygook because it can mean a lot of things by a lot of different people. I mean, it's not intellectual.
So, give me an example of institutional racism in America.
Well, someone will tell you the economic
You tell me. Give me an example. I don't want to hear what someone will tell me. You give me an example.
There we go.
I don't believe in institutional racism.
Oh, so you think that the term institutional racism is bullshit?
Yes, I do. I've never defended it.
Then why don't you say so?
You didn't ask me. You wanted me to define it.
So critical race theory is also bullshit.
Yes, it is.
Okay, wonderful. Then we agree.
Very.
So I don't care what it means. And now I don't care what it means because it's bullshit.
Oh, well, why don't you just, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. I did know.
And I think this conversation is becoming a bit circular. So.
No.
Wait.
You're circular. I'm not circular. I'm very well focused.
Very well. Is there anything else to add? Because I'm getting a little bit on the tired side, and I'm going to try to make it better.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I guess you're not. Now, by the way, are you going for the guy? Have you had the surgery yet?
No.
Will I be dancing on your grave anytime soon?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I think that should conclude it. Not that I'm offended by or upset. I actually like the dialogue.
No,
but
it was very good conversation.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit on the tired side, and the show, I think, has run its course in the intellectual dialogue. And I think it'll kind of get old, but I do want you to call back. I find this conversation to be rather interesting. Is there anything else to add before we end this puppy?
Yes. You're just more comfortable when it's in smaller bites.
You might be right, but I like big bites too. Let me tell you.
I like big bites.
Joe, is there anything else to add? Hey, guys, like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, particularly if you vote a thumbs down. Leave a comment down below.
For a civil conversation, and I think we're done.
Yes, I think we're done.
Like it.
Yeah, like it, subscribe, and share this video.